Guys, hey guys, Wrestling Throwdown here. I'm Haley and I'm here alone tonight. I gave Joe the day off, so he's actually busy today, so I just told him I'd do it by myself. It's gonna be pretty fast. I didn't think TNA was all that great. Pretty much nothing huge happened. No feuds really continued except for maybe a few. But other than that, it was a pretty I think they got less than like zero point 0.7 viewers. I know last week's the ratings were not good, so hopefully TNA starts to. They have great talent, so that's why I continue watching TNA because I do enjoy it, and I think their talent's great, and they have different matches every week, and that's what I like about it. That's their strength that keeps them away from WWE. They got the good talent and they got the different matches, and instead of WWE who like books the same stuff every single time. But TNA's booking lacks. It can be a little bit better. Their segments and their storylines can be a little bit better. So that's where I think they're losing their viewers. But anyways, Kurt Angle comes out and he pretty much just talks about all the matches that are happening later on tonight. And then MVP, Kenny King, and Bobby Lashley come out. And MVP just says he's lost all respect for Kurt Angle and he doesn't know how to book matches. And that pretty much no one's going to stop Bobby Lashley. So no matter who wins, who's the #1 contender, either Eric Young or Bobby Roode, he does not care because Bobby Lashley is going to beat him. And he starts making fun of the people in New York and imitating them and pretty much saying what they do and what they act like. And he says the king of New York is Bobby Lashley. And then Tommy Dreamer comes out. And this was interesting. I actually kind of laughed when he said this. He said that MVP is underrated, but he has a big mouth. And I kind of laughed because I'm just like, well, I really wouldn't say he's underrated. I would say that WWE actually, I think, used him right. I think he's a mid-carder, and I think he's a good mid-carder. Don't get me wrong. I don't think MVP is a bad wrestler or anything like that. But I'm nowhere near I think he is a main eventer. I mean, he was a good U.S. champion when he was in WWE, but I think they actually, WWE does mess up a lot of talent, and TNA fixes it, like EC3, for example, Derek Bateman, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But MVP, I think, was kind of one of the ones that they did right. I don't think he's not amazing. He's a good wrestler, and he's good for a mid-carder, not like what Joe said and what C-Double said 2 weeks ago. Not everybody can be a main eventer. You're going to have to, just deal with it. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad wrestler by any means. There's some good wrestlers out there that are mid-carders. It just means that you don't have the full package and you're not as good as some of these other guys. So I'm not trying to diss on MVP. I do think he's good, but it's just to say that he's underrated. I really don't think he's underrated. I think he's pretty much where WWE put him. I think he's a mid-carder, and that's about it. And he calls Kenny King a sellout, and he pretty much talks about Bobby Lashley being the most dominant TNA champion in the ever. And I think this is kind of a joke too, because it's just like Brock Lesnar can kill Bobby Lashley. If Brock Lesnar actually came to TNA, obviously WWE wouldn't let that happen. And I don't think he would anyways. He would go back to MMA in UFC before he actually went to TNA. But I think he would kill Bobby Lashley. And so I think it's kind of a joke that they say that. I'm not really sure why they made him champ in the first place. I mean, I know he's leaving soon. I think he's supposed to leave in like another month, and he's supposed to go back to MMA. But I'm not really positive. I know there's a couple of people that are going their contract. They're not re-signing with TNA. So obviously they're going to have to find another champion soon to beat him, and it's kind of funny because Scenari's lost, Eric Young, everyone's losing, so it's just like I don't know if they're just going to have some kind of surprise beat him, or I still think they need to go with Bobby Roode, even though he does lose, I think, next week. Not to Eric Young, but to Bobby Lashley. If you read up on spoilers, he actually he loses, so I'm not really sure. I think that they need to let him win because obviously he's feuding with MVP and everything like that right now. And he hasn't been champ in a while. I think this can actually save TNA if Bobby Roode is the champion. He's a babyface right now, and the fans are behind him. And he's the best on the roster right now, in my opinion. And this can actually really save TNA if they actually, because I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of Bobby Lashley being TNA champ right now. I know I'm not, and he's leaving soon anyways. So it's kind of like, what's the point? You know, you need another champion, and I think Bobby Roode is definitely the guy to do that. And pretty much, Kenny King can't take pretty much any more of Tommy Dreamer, and he tags him. And then Tommy Dreamer pulls him out and gets a kendo stick. And then pretty much they all attack Tommy Dreamer, and pretty much it says Tommy Dreamer versus Lashley in a New York Street fight. And Lashley wins, of course, in a pretty fast match. It wasn't a good match. It was just, I mean, obviously Tommy Dreamer's up in age, and Bobby Lashley pretty much killed him, so no offense to Tommy Dreamer. I like Tommy Dreamer, but that's another thing with TNA. They like to bring back all these guys, all these ECW guys, and they think that this is going to help their ratings, and it's just like, a lot of people don't want to see Tommy Dreamer fight again and Rhino again. I mean, I know I don't, and I know a lot of people think that it's just ridiculous, and they think that having all these guys coming up on their roster is just going to help them. And I get where they're coming from, but it's just like these guys are like 50 years old in their late 40s. They can't do the stuff that they used to do when people loved ECW, you know? So it's like, what's the point? You need to work on actually developing and creating your newer talent, like EC3 and Samuel Shaw is a good one. And, you know, guys like that who are still young and still have a long way to go and who have, you know, a good future career ahead of them. So I think TNA needs to work on that and just kind of think about that, because then maybe they'll start getting more viewers. Madison Rayne pretty much is backstage, and she says that this match is going to be great. She's excited. It's for the #1 contender knockouts against Taryn Terrell. And she says that Taryn Terrell, all she's been hearing about is Taryn Terrell, and Taryn Terrell needs to start learning about her name and thinking more about her. And Taryn Terrell obviously wins. No surprise here. I do think, though, that Taryn Terrell is not good. I think a lot of people thought she was good. She had good matches with Gail Kim because Gail Kim really, I mean, she could carry her very well. And so it's kind of like, trying to think of an example with like John Cena. Sometimes he can't carry people can't really carry him, and sometimes some of his matches aren't that great, like kind of like the Brock Lesnar. They're both big guys. Like you need someone who really knows what they're doing, and Gail Kim really knows what she's doing, so she could carry Taryn Terrell very good. And not to like bash Madison Rayne or anything like that, because she's actually my favorite right now, knockout, but she just, her and Taryn Terrell's match abilities just don't match up, and she can't really carry Taryn Terrell as good as Gail Kim, and so it made for a lot of botches. Sorry about that, botches. The match was just botches all over the place. It wasn't good. It looks like Madison Rayne might be turning heel soon. She kind of tried to cheat a little bit. Maybe she's going to be turning heel soon, especially since Velvet Sky's leaving. And who knows who else is leaving. I know ODB just got released, so they're losing a lot of people. So I think maybe actually this would be strong if she actually joined Angelina Love and they both turned heel. But also Brittany could turn heel too. I thought Brittany was going to join the Beautiful People, but obviously that's out of the question, I guess, now, because I haven't seen Brittany in a while. But they could do a couple of stuff with this. But yeah, Taryn Terrell, I'm not a fan of her. I never have been. A lot of people thought like they were very excited that TNA was giving her a chance and everything, and they were excited about it. Unlike WWE, they released her, right after the Drew McIntyre thing happened. But it's like, I really don't think she was all that great. I mean, she's better than some people, I guess, better than some of the divas like Eva Marie and Cameron and stuff, but she's really not that great. She kind of falls like below average in that range, and she's just, according to, comparing to the knockouts for TNA, she's definitely in the bottom. I really do. The only good thing that she has is good matches with Gail Kim, and that's why I do like seeing her wrestle Gail Kim, because Gail Kim can really carry the match and make Taryn Terrell look good. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, it was no surprise that Taryn Terrell is the #1 contender. I have a feeling they actually might give Taryn Terrell the belt. I think it's been like 4 or 5 months maybe that Gail Kim's had the title. I don't know if it's been that long. I'll get back to you on that. But I have a feeling, especially since Taryn Terrell, they haven't really let her beat Gail Kim. They only let her beat her once. So I have a feeling that Taryn Terrell is they're actually going to give her the title, but we'll see what happens. Next is Samuel Shaw and Gunner have a little bit of a backstage thing. This is interesting too. Pretty much he's at Gunner's house, and Gunner says, "Oh, I'm gonna." He's on the phone and everything. He's checking his texts, and Samuel Shaw says something about like, "Oh, are you talking to Anderson?" And he goes, "Hey, it's water under the bridge. Don't worry about it." He's like, "I'm gonna go get some drinks. Do you want something?" And Samuel Shaw just says, "Oh, I'm just gonna go back to drawing." And he's like, "Okay, that's fine, you know." And then he goes downstairs, and Samuel Shaw gets up. And I don't know, I was expecting him to do something really creepy. I didn't think he was actually going to do this, but it was interesting. He put on his uniform. He started touching it and everything and looking at it. And then he put it on, and then Gunner comes back upstairs and says, "Take it off now, or I will." And that was pretty much all that happened there. I have a feeling, especially since Anderson is one of the guys that is not re-signing with their contract, I have a feeling that they're gonna have something with Gunner and Samuel Shaw, and I think Gunner's gonna be face. Samuel Shaw is more of a crazy person. I had a feeling he was gonna go back to being crazy. Joe, thought that he was gonna stay face and everything, but I'm just like, well, now that Anderson's leaving, it's kind of like, and I don't know. I mean, they could still have Gunner as a heel and Samuel Shaw as a face, but I think it's almost turning into the Christy Hemme thing again, but he's kind of like, doing it with Gunner. He's like becoming obsessed with him, but I don't know if it's like it's obviously not the same thing. I don't think they're going to do anything kind of gay angle or anything like that, but it would be interesting if they did, because it's never been done before, I don't think. As long as I've been watching wrestling for 12 years, it hasn't. I can't ring a bell for anything like that. But yeah, this whole thing's really interesting, especially since Anderson's going to be out of the picture. I'm not sure how they're going to finish that up. If they're going to make it like almost kind of like a Jeff Hardy and CM Punk thing, especially since when they caught Jeff Hardy with drugs, they obviously had to write him off. So they had an I Quit match with CM Punk, and the loser had to leave WWE. Maybe they're going to do something like that. I haven't really read up on spoilers, though, so I couldn't tell you, but obviously something along the lines I think should happen, something like that, like Anderson loses and he leaves. Or they could just completely kill the angle just out of nowhere, like this. A lot of times they like to do this, and Anderson could just go, and then they continue with the Gunner and Samuel Shaw thing. But it'll be interesting no matter what they do with this. I really like Samuel Shaw, and I think he has a lot of potential going for him in his career. And I'm really excited to actually see him stay. I'm glad he re-signed and everything like that. Anderson, I'm not really surprised. A lot of people aren't really feeling him as much as they did right when he first came to TNA. Anderson is kind of another one of those guys. He's not. I really don't see him as a main eventer. I see him more as a mid-carder, and I think WWE. I mean, it would have been nice for him to cash in the Money in the Bank successfully, and instead of losing it to Edge. But they seen that he wasn't really, great and everything. So that's why. And I think he only won TNA title once. I'm not sure, actually, because I didn't watch TNA. I kind of took a few breaks from TNA back in like 2009 and 2008, and then I watched again and then took another break. So I'll get back to you on that. But they really haven't done anything with Anderson. They've just been putting him in some feuds just recently and just kind of not been doing anything with him, and then a feud here and there. And that's about it. He's not really doing anything, kind of like James Storms, for example. I'll get more into him later, but it's just like they don't have anything for these guys, so they're just kind of like dying down, and that's probably why Anderson's just not resigning. He's probably just like, well, if you're not going to give me the title, and if you don't really have anything for me, then I'm just going to leave. You know, you can finish up the storyline. I mean, obviously it involves more Gunner and Samuel Shaw anyways than Anderson, so they can deal without him anyways in the storyline. Next is a 6-man tag team match with Crazy Steve, Tigre Uno, Low-Key versus DJZ, Manic, and Homicide. And obviously Low-Key, Crazy Steve, and Tigre Uno won. It was really nothing more to say. It was just a plain, simple match. It was kind of interesting how they compared these guys. Obviously it was supposed to be faces versus heels, but I never knew Manic or Homicide were really heels. I thought they were working as baby faces. Maybe not, but I know Manic, they really haven't been doing much heel work with him. But obviously it was the heel side because they had TJZ on their side, and he's obviously heel. So the baby faces pick up the win. Next is pretty much they can put together the #1 contender for the TNA title. And pretty much Bobby Roode knocks on Kurt Angle's door, and he sees Eric Young eating in his office, and he's like, what the hell is this all about, and everything like that. And he's just like, oh, I'm just waiting for an answer. I'm just here to talk to Kurt. And Bobby Roode I don't know if he kind of suspects something, like maybe they're talking behind his back and like trying to, I don't know. And then Kurt Angle comes out, and he just says, let's get down to business and let's talk about this. And then he comes out of his office and says, we came to an understanding, and we're going to talk about it later in the ring. And so pretty much they say, Bobby Roode comes out, and he pretty much says that it's going to be him and Eric Young for the #1 contender for the TNA title next week. And obviously everyone's seen this coming. Obviously, it's not rocket scientists because they obviously, even though Bobby Roode got out first, obviously Bobby Roode should have won, but they obviously wanted to make it more, I guess, drag it out more, so they obviously had them both come out at the same time, or it looked like at the same time. And so they're pretty much just going to fight next week. And Bobby Roode calls Eric Young his best friend, says there's no one more else he respects backstage than him. And Eric Young pretty much says that he is just as good as Bobby Roode, but next week he's going to be better than him, and he's going to pick up the victory. Now, I'm going to talk about Eric Young for a second. Let's be real here. The only reason why he was TNA champ was because of Daniel Bryan in WWE. They wanted another Daniel Bryan. They were trying to compete with WWE, and they wanted the fans to get behind someone. I have nothing against Eric Young, but he is not a main eventer. And so I thought this was a joke when he said he was just as good as Bobby Roode, because he's not even in the same league as Bobby Roode. I'm not trying to be mean. I am a fan of Eric Young, but he's not a main eventer. He's a very good mid-carder, and he can be a great X Division champion and everything like that. But other than that, the only reason he's never going to be TNA champ again, at least I don't see him being TNA champ again. I think that would be ridiculous if they made him TNA champion again. But Joe was right when he said this before. If they were really going to make him TNA champion and were really going to do something with him, they needed to do it a few years back. They didn't need to wait this long to do it with the whole Daniel Bryan thing. They needed to actually, and that's really the only reason why they did it anyways. He would have never been champion if Daniel Bryan wasn't champion. So they were just trying to compete, and they thought maybe if Eric Young is our champion, maybe people will get more viewers and everything, since a small guy is our champion. And obviously people got behind it for maybe a month, but then after that he had a very short reign. I think he only held it for like 2 or 3 months. But it's just like after that they were just kind of like, we're kind of bored with it. It's just like they didn't really care. Yeah, we were all surprised and shocked and happy that he won, but then we were kind of like thinking, like, does he really deserve it? Does he? I mean, this is just a Daniel Bryan. They're just trying to compete with Daniel Bryan. And the difference between Daniel Bryan and Eric Young is Daniel Bryan is definitely a main eventer. Eric Young is not. And not to say that Eric Young is a bad wrestler. Like I said before, that does not make him a bad wrestler just because he's not a main eventer. You know, some people just can't. Some wrestlers just can't be main eventers, and that doesn't mean that they're bad wrestlers. You know, they're still great wrestlers. You know, just like Eric Young, I respect him. I think he's a great wrestler, and I think he can do a lot. But main eventer, I don't think so. I'm not feeling it, and I don't think he's really for it, and I'm not feeling it. But yeah, that match is going to happen next week, and obviously Bobby Roode's going to win. Next is EC3 versus Rhino, and this was supposed to be a gore match. I guess whoever bled first. I don't know what the rules for that was, but TNA. The thing is TNA's matches are a lot different than WWE's. Like their Royal Rumble is everyone's in the ring, and then the last two guys fight in just a regular match. So obviously that's not. They do different stuff. So who knows what the rules for the gore match was. EC3, it was a DQ. EC3 hit Rhino with a chair, and so Rhino won. And EC3, I want to talk about him for a while. I posted this on the group if you guys did not see. And I asked a question last night. It was kind of late last night. Sorry about that, guys. You're probably sleeping. And I asked pretty much if WWE made a mistake with Derek Bateman by releasing him. And a lot of you said no, because TNA gained someone amazing, and they are doing way more than what WWE would have done with them. And that is totally true. I agree with that. Because even if WWE did stick with him, I could see him maybe being tag team champion, maybe US if he got lucky. But with TNA, he's becoming a main eventer. He's becoming their Randy Orton. And it's funny too, because a lot of people said in the post that he was their Randy Orton, and my brother actually said that too. So I thought it was funny that a lot of people are agreeing that EC3 is TNA's Randy Orton. He's built like him. He might have a little bit more muscle, but he's about the same height and everything. He acts. He can be a monstrous heel, just like Randy Orton. He's aggressive. He's got that evil side to him. And I've always been a huge fan of Derek Bateman. I was pissed when WWE released him, and when I seen this EC3 guy, I'm like, wait, who's this? And he comes out, I'm like, oh my God, that's Derek Bateman. Oh my God. And I was so happy, but then at the same time I was like, is TNA actually going to do something with him? And they're actually doing a great job with him, so I'm actually very, very excited. I hope they keep this up because he has a lot of potential. He's a great wrestler. And WWE, they're probably like, oh, that's great. We lost another great wrestler that we could have done something with. And I mean, I know there's always, just a certain number of spots, and they have to release some people. And if they can't think of anything for you, it's pretty much you're done, or, because they pretty much say that either you pick your own thing, you give us some ideas of what you want to do, and if you can't think of anything, you're pretty much done. That's what WWE pretty much creative team does, if you guys did not know. So obviously he was probably just like sitting there, and they weren't really using him in NXT, and he was just kind of sitting there and everything. So this is going to help him out in the long run. Yes, TNA isn't as big as WWE, but you know what? At least he's being used right, and that's the main thing. I say, you know what? Would I rather be in WWE or be treated like crap, or would I rather be in like a lower, wrestling company that treats me great? I think I'd rather be in that lower wrestling company that treats me great. So I'm not sure if they're going to continue this feud, but of course Rhino is obviously a face now. Spud is still with EC3 as his manager. I don't know though. EC3 is kind of getting a little aggressive with Spud. He almost looked like he was going to hit him with a chair last night. So I'm kind of upset about that. I don't really want them to break up. I think Spud's really good for him, and I think they're really funny together and everything, and I think that they need to keep Spud with him. But if they're really going to turn him into a monstrous heel, I can see them splitting up Spud and him just going crazy and attacking Spud and saying that he's in his way and everything, because a lot of people like Spud, and so they either have to either turn EC3 face or, and obviously they're not going to do that because his whole character gimmick is the nephew of Dixie Carter, so they have to, as long as she's heel, he has to be heel. So in Spud, everyone likes him, and he's getting behind, the fans are getting behind him, so it's probably like he's going to eventually, they're going to split apart, and who knows if they're going to feud. I think Spud's better off as a manager, though. He's a little too small. And no offense, I know there's some great small wrestlers and everything like that, but I don't know. I'm feeling Spud is a manager. I think he needs to just stick to a manager. If they make him a wrestler, I wouldn't hate the idea or anything like that. You know, give him a chance, see what he can do. But I think he's better off sticking as a manager. James Storm. This is another guy that they don't know what they're doing with, so they just gave him something. He pretty much says he's a leader of a new stable that pretty much wrestlers that need to be rebirthed. And so I'm guessing he's going to add more people to this group. I don't, by the looks and by the sound of what he said last night, it sounds like he's going to be looking for more guys. And it's not just going to be, he's not just going to be managing Sonata. He's actually going to be creating a group, and he's going to be the leader, obviously, of what he said. But Sonata has a whole new look, and he looks like the Great Muta. And it's Sonata versus Austin Aries, and Sonata won after he sprayed green mist in the eyes of Austin Aries. I didn't really agree with this. I'm kind of upset that they made Austin Aries lose to him. But at the same time, if they're really going to push Sonata now and make him a heel, which I thought was a very bad mistake, I think they need to keep him face. I thought that was kind of ridiculous that they needed something for James Storm, and they just put 2 and 2 together, and so he obviously had to turn heel because James Storm's his heel now. But I mean, this could be good for both of them, because Sonata could obviously get a push, and James Storm could obviously get people talking more about him now as a manager, and who knows, he might form a really great group, and they might be destructive, and it could be something new for TNA and get people talking. So it could be good in the long run. I'm not totally against the idea. We'll see where this goes. We'll see what's going to happen, if this is going to work, and what James Storms can do with this whole group thing that he's going to create. I'm not really sure who he can put in there, if they're going to turn a couple more faces heels, like, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, who's like Tigre Uno maybe, if he wants to, I don't know, something like that, or, you know, he can probably bring a few wrestlers together, but we'll see what happens with that. A new guy, they were calling him Serge, and they announced him and everything, and he obviously came from the Army and everything, and he lost his leg in the Army. And now, no offense, I'm not going to try and offend anyone here, but this is completely a ripoff of Zach Gowen. I don't know if you guys watched early 2000s, I can't remember what year it was, 2003, 2004 maybe? It was when Brock Lesnar was, he had some heat and everything, and he was heel with Paul Heyman. And this guy, Zach Gowen, young guy, WWE brought him in, and he had one leg too. And I actually heard he's actually doing really good in the independent circuit, so good for him. But that's exactly what I thought of when I seen this guy, is he's pretty much a Zach Gowen ripoff. I do not see him staying for very long. I know this might sound mean, you know, but it's the honest truth. I don't see them actually doing something with him. I'll be shocked if they actually do something with him. But other than maybe a few months, they're going to get tired and they're going to release him. That's what TNA does, and especially since they're on their whole, they actually did get a new channel too. I do want to talk about that. They got, I think it's Discovery something like that. And they're going to put it on that. I thought that was an interesting channel that they got. They didn't even find, like, a TBS channel or anything, you know, like a main channel that, you know, it was just like a really out of place, not even something like kind of a sporty channel. It was just like a really out of place channel that, like, it was just weird. But they did find a new channel, and they're fine. Obviously, but the money problem thing is, I don't even know. I think they're still having a hard time paying off their TNA wrestlers. I still have to look up on that because I know they were earlier a few months ago. So it's just like they're still bringing in new people. There's supposed to be another guy, Hovak, I don't know, something like that. Is supposed to be coming to TNA, I guess, next week or the week after, too. So they're bringing all these guys in, and it's just like, you guys are just now getting it from out of a crisis. You just got a new TV channel and everything like that. You're losing money. And it's just like, and you're still bringing new people in. And, I mean, I get it, too, because they are losing a lot of people, too. I mean, they just released ODB. Velvet Sky's leaving, Anderson's leaving, Bullet Ray's leaving, so they're losing some pretty big people. I mean, Velvet Sky's definitely up there in the knockouts, and Bullet Ray obviously is definitely up there. Number one, got one of their number one guys, and Anderson. I mean, he's decent. I mean, people talk about him and everything, so they are losing some people. So I can see where all these guys are coming from that they're signing, but it's just like, how long do they actually think they're going to keep this guy? I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what they do with him, but other than that, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think he's going to stay for no more than a few months. We'll see what happens. I pretty much, like I said, I think this is a Zach Gowen ripoff, pretty much. And no offense to him or anything of the idea, you know. I don't want to offend anybody here, but like I said, I don't think it's gonna work out. The last match of the night, the main event. Team 3D versus the Hardys versus the Wolves, and this is their first. I was so confused on this match. I was like, what do they mean? Like, is this like a 2 out of 3 falls match? It is, but they have them separate. It's not like one right after another, because I seen the match. The match itself was already too short. It was less than 10 minutes because they spent too much on the Serge guy. And it was like an 8-minute match, and it was good for how short it was, but it was just like, I mean, you could have like added at least another 5 minutes and made this even better, you know. But obviously, Team 3D wins, and so next week they're having 2 separate matches. Well, actually, it could be 3 because it's best 2 out of 3, so someone new could win, like if it was the Wolves or something, or the Hardys. And that's another thing too. I thought maybe the Hardys were out now. I didn't know how they were going to do this because, like I said, it's TNA. Their matches are completely different from WWE, because this isn't even like a real 2 out of 3 falls match. This is weird because their WWE's 2 out of 3 falls matches are right after another. They don't have like 2 separate matches. They have like another week from now, you know. They have the same day and the same time, you know, like right after another. But so I thought maybe the Hardys were going to be out, and it was just going to be the Team 3D versus the Wolves. But no, they're still all 3 of them are still supposed to be back, and so they can have one person win next week, and then they could have another match, and then the other team that didn't win could lose. So they could technically have 4 matches, but pretty much whoever gets to 2 matches first, whoever wins 2 matches first, is going to be the new tag team champions. And Team 3D obviously won this match, so they get to pick the match stipulation for next week. They're going to have their second match next week. Since Davey Richards broke his leg, I don't know when this happened, and I don't know how long they have recorded or, you know, taped before he broke his leg. So I'm not sure if Eddie Edwards is either going to have to find a new partner, or if they just make him lose. And I have a feeling they're going to make him lose in either Team 3D. And obviously Team 3D can't lose either or can't win either because Bullet Ray left. So there's that too. So this whole match is just a whole big mess because you have one guy that left and one guy that broke his leg. So it's like, if the Hardys don't win, they're going to have to find replacements. And And it's just, I think it would be better if the Hardys won because, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Jeff Hardy or Matt Hardy, to tell you the truth. I always preferred Edge and Christian and Team 3D and everything back in the day when I was watching in 2000 for WWE. But I think that's like their only um, thing that they really can do is have the Hardys win, unless they're going to have the Wolves retain it and find a new person for Eddie Edwards. But it's like, I mean, you got one leaving from one team and one with a broken leg, so it's like they really, I mean, I know it's bad timing because obviously they made this whole match before Bully Ray decided to leave and before Davey Richards obviously broke his leg. So it's obviously just like kind of a crazy thing that just happened, but it's just like, I don't know if they're just going to end up killing it or just give it to the Hardys or do what, or have the Wolves have it and then have them either have to relinquish it and then have a tournament for it, or what. There's many different things that they can do with this. It's going to be interesting, that's all I know, because I don't know when Davey Richards actually broke his leg, and I don't know how much they taped before he broke his leg, so he could probably still be there. Hopefully either Team 3D wins next week, or they finish it in the next two matches, so then they know, like, what they have to do. Hopefully it doesn't happen right in the middle of them taping. Hopefully they got done with all these tapings before they actually any of this ever happened. But we will see what they do. Like I said, really the Hardys are the only suggestion. Hopefully they let the Hardys win, because then they won't have any problems if the Hardys won. They can just be like, oh, okay, even though it was a freak thing, we're fine because the Hardys won, cool, that's fine. Or they're going to have to, like I said, have a tag team tournament, or I don't know really what they're going to do. It's going to be interesting, though, what they do, since they like to tape a month ahead. So we will see. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that likes up button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to like our group on Facebook. I will put all the links in the description. And thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.